Time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. I am Gino Bacola alongside Scott Shapiro with producer Lucia helping us out. And Scott, this weekend we're going to be focused all on Woodbine. They have a big Saturday of racing. Grade 1 Woodbine Mile is the feature, but there are 3 Grade 1 races. And what's important about them, Scott, they're all win-and-you're-in races for the Breeders' Cup. So even if you're not necessarily betting these races this weekend, you want to keep an eye on these horses because they are trying to qualify for the Breeders' Cup in less than 2 months.
Yeah, there's been years past where I didn't follow this this day of racing at Woodbine, and I would come into those juvenile and the juvenile filly races at the Breeders' Cup and be a little lost without kind of getting a true feel for these races. So I think they're very important, particularly for the first week in November.
Before we dive into the Woodbine races, we want to let all of you know football season has started. College football games are rolling. Week 2 of the NFL is coming up, and Daily Racing Form has a Bet on Sports section of DRF.com. If you click on that Bet on Sports section, it'll take you to a whole bunch of different sportsbook offers, promo codes, deals, and you can compare them. You can look at the information about which state that you're in, and you can get up to $5,000 in sportsbook offers. And when you check out the sports betting section at DRF.com, let's move to meet the field for the Grade 1 summer. Scott, we're going to start with race number 6. We'll just go in order of the 3 Grade 1 races on Saturday at Woodbine. When you're looking at these Grade 1 races, the trainer Charles Appleby and the owner Godolphin, when they have run races at Woodbine in Grade 1s, they are 9 for 17 together, and they have 3 horses, 1 major player in each of the races we're going to talk about, Scott. When we look at the 1 Argos, both the 1 and the 2 come out of the Soaring Free race. That was a local prep race where 5 horses, the top 5 finishers, are all actually going to come back into this race right here. We have a replay from it, and the winner was 2 Out Hero. He's going to be the number 5 in the race on Saturday. What did you take from this race? We're talking a little bit about Argos and Rude Procedure, but overall, did you like anyone? Did you dislike anyone? Did you think the race was strong?
Well, it's a stretch out from 6.5 to a mile. So that's the key here is who's going to be able to take the stretch out in distance. I thought Argos was just okay in there after a really good trip at Ellis. So I'm lukewarm, but he's got a real good rider and a real good post.
Could you make any case for Rude Procedure, who was 4th in that race after kind of taking the early lead at the top of the stretch?
Now, there's a lot of sprinters stretching out in here that have speed. I expect things to be tough on the front end. This is a horse that hasn't gotten better in terms of numbers since that debut win when he was loose on the lead.
Time frame is a little bit interesting, Scott. He's for Mark Cassie, John Velasquez, DJ Stables. If you're just talking about the human connections, this horse is a major player, and he's 20-1 on the morning line.
He is, and he got hammered on debut over the synthetic. I can forgive that effort. And last out, it was somewhat workmanlike, but he just kept grinding and kept grinding. I think he's really going to get a good trip in here, and I think he's going to more so love the added ground.
The Secret Adversary comes in from Ireland, most recently won a stakes race over there. And I thought it was a pretty good performance, angled around, wins, wrapped up in the end. What do you think about this shipper?
Well, this barn, James Stack, the trainer, I'm not too familiar with because he doesn't send hardly any horses over here. So usually that's a barometer, as you mentioned, the Appleby barn. Plus, this horse lost in a 2 starts back at a huge favorite against the 5-horse field. So just on that, I don't know a ton, but at 6-1, that seems a little short.
2 Out Hero is the 5. We saw him winning the replay, Scott, of that Soaring Free. Thought it was a good performance. He really did get a perfect trip in that race, though. And so that always worries me with a short price horse playing them the next time, because you got that great trip from him last time out. He also has to stretch out a little bit and show us he can go a mile.
Right, in the Dam Song River. This is a pricey $240,000 purchase. The Dam, most of the success was on the turf, but it was sprinting. So I'm a little bit leery only because of the question marks at the short price.
Scott, you and I are going price shopping in this race. I hope the number 6 Bill of Ice is going to sit back. He's going to make one late run. His debut win was visually very impressive. Now, it didn't grade out very well based on the speed figure. It was light. But with these young horses, these 2-year-olds, sometimes the speed figures can be a little tough to make because there's not a whole lot of experience with these horses. What I love about him, Scott, in this entire field, only 2 horses have been a mile or beyond, and he's one of them. I think late in this race, a lot of these horses are going to be tired and stopping, and he is going to be passing a bunch of them at that point. Is he good enough to win? I'm not quite sure, but I think I'm going to be rewarded with the price taking a shot at what should be, 15 or 20 to 1.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions for these horses to answer, and he's answered 2 of them. Can you go the distance, and can you finish at the distance? And he was really finishing full of run in there, got a favorable trip, very encouraging effort. I don't know if you're going to get that 20 to 1 because I think others will see that going long, they'll see the part that he was able to do that, but he's got a slow speed figure, and I don't think that matters all that much in this case.
Actually, a decent pedigree, too. He's a full sibling to a horse named American Revolution, who won the Grade 1 Cigar Mile, half sibling to a horse named Bull Journey, who's a Grade 3 winner. So he has a little class to him as well on the pedigree. Kassan and Marcus J, the next 2 that we'll talk about, they look like they might impact each other early in this race, Scott, because they're both really quick. Kassan's shown speed in all 3 of his races. And then Marcus J, he was really impressive when he won his debut by 8 lengths. I'm just worried with them drawn right next door to each other that they might impact each other's chances.
I agree with that sentiment. I think Kassan is the one more up against it. We know what he is. He's had 3 starts. He's been on the lead in all of them, and they were all shorter. And he also was hammered on debut, hasn't really necessarily moved forward since. Marcus J, I don't necessarily know if he needs the lead type at this point. He draws outside much of the other speed. He was dominant in that win, and I think he's got every right to move forward by the looks of him just watching that race and the pedigree. So of those 2, I much prefer Marcus J.
Yeah, because with Marcus J, he only has that 1 race. We really don't even know if he has a running style yet, right? He might just have been better than that field, and they put him on the lead. So wouldn't be shocking to see him figure things out, and sit off the pace here. Military Time was supplemented into this race. What happens in horse racing when there are big stakes races like this, a lot of times you pay to nominate horses that you think might be horses to run in those races. And when you pay those nomination fees early, they're not much. When you supplement later, you have to pay more money to enter horses. And when a trainer like Mark Cassie pays to supplement a horse like this, I always take a second look, Scott, because he just knows the pulse of Woodbine in those big races as well as anyone. This was Military Time winning his debut. His dam is a 6-time winner on the turf, and they're going to wheel him back in just a couple of weeks. I think the connections really like this horse by placing him back in here.
I could see that. They also have a lot of money, Gary Barber and Vinny Viola, especially Gary Barber might have wanted a horse in here.
Yeah.
I could see this horse definitely moving forward here, but he got a pretty good trip, relaxing, moving up the inside, but winning from 1-turn race along the inside on debut, not always easy.
We moved to Wild Desert. He comes in off of a 3rd-place finish at Newmarket. Scott, this horse was really unlucky in his most recent race because he was right towards the front end, and the leader was tiring, and the leader kept coming out right in front of him and pushing him and impeding him. I don't know if he was going to win, but he may have been closer, and he seems like one of the horses to beat in here.
Well, he's 5-2 on the line. I'm going to let him beat me. Appleby, you mentioned, likes to win races, these big ones at Woodbine. He hasn't moved forward in his time form ratings, 86, 86, 85. Not ideal, but he's one of the horses to beat, obviously.
I couldn't make a case for Jupiter, who was 5th in that Soaring Free. I just didn't see an excuse why I would upgrade this one over some of the others who finished in front of him.
Yeah, no real running in that August 16th race.
I respect the win from Teddy's Rocket in the debut, Scott, and he's one of a couple horses in here who has the experience going long. But wow, he got a pretty perfect trip. The way the race set up, it almost was like he fell into it. So visually, I wasn't as impressed with him. I think he might look a little bit better on paper than when you watch the race.
Well, I mean, if I thought he was going to get the same trip again, I might, consider him a lot more, but he's way drawn to the outside there with Joel. I'd be surprised. It was a really good trip. He got the jump on the runner-up. I prefer others. I think the public probably will too.
It's a really tough edition of the Grade 1 Summer. So let's move to selections for this one, Scott. Both of us, 20 to 1 shots on top. Let's go looking for big prices. Scott's going to go with Time Frame on top, 3,658 for Scott. I'm going to go with Bill of Ice on top. You can see we both feel like the 5, probably one of the real players in there. Take whatever you want out of that, but we wish you the best of luck in the Grade 1 Summer. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk about the Natalma next. are back previewing the grade 1 Natalma. We move to race number 8. It's got 3 grade 1s on the card. They're all these prep races that qualify you for the Breeders' Cup. Now, before we dive into this race, I think a perfect time to talk about the DRF newbie product would be right now for the SportsGrid audience, because I think a lot of folks watching this show, you play the races on the big days, maybe on the weekends, maybe you're not as hardcore of a horse racing fan. Sometimes you open up that racing form and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of numbers. It's in black and white. Sometimes it's hard to understand, but DRF newbie is completely different. It puts things in a way that it makes it a little bit easier to understand for new bettors, in graphs, visually, using colors. It gives all sorts of comparisons for horses' early speed ratings, for their late speed ratings, for the way races shape up. You could see trainer spotlights and jockey spotlights. Newbie.drf.com. You want to check it out on your phone, though. It's got to be on the mobile for newbie. Scott, got another grade 1 to dive on into. These are the 2-year-old fillies. So the gals, they will try to win their way into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. I thought Corsia Veloce from the inside comes off of 2 really nice efforts. She's 2 for 2. She wins a local prep race. She actually beat the boys in her debut, and I believe we have a replay of the win. It was a pretty professional effort from Corsia Veloce. What do you think about her and maybe the fillies that come out of that Catch a Glimpse?
Well, unlike the last race we spoke on, this race doesn't have true legit sprinter speed in it, so it's a little bit more murky from a pace perspective. This is a filly that's bred more to sprint. She's been really good in her 2 starts. Inside draw, not a lot of speed. Hasn't gotten out of the gate well, but I think her best chance is to be pretty forward in this race, maybe even on the lead.
When you compare the 6th race that we just talked about and this race, they're so different on paper from the race shape, because it looks like there's a bunch of speed in that 6th, and in here, not much. Pina Colada could be one of the horses forwardly placed in here. She's not that fast early. She sort of just got the lead by default last time out, though, Scott, and she ran 2nd. I used this same joke on another one of our colleagues, and I will with you. Do you like Pina Coladas?
I don't. I mean, I like them in general, but I didn't like the race in general. It was a 4-horse blanket finish, and she had things her way. I really don't think much of her chances in here, although Mark Casse thought enough to debut her in a stakes race, but Pina Colada, passo.
What makes this race difficult from a handicapping standpoint is you have horses like the 3 and the 4, to me, that I don't have much to knock on those lightly raced horses. I don't particularly like them as much as I like some others, but a horse like Sweet Fusion just ran 2nd behind Corsia Veloce. No reason why that gal can't step forward. And even Dixie Law right next door, that's a good debut win, but this is just a step up, a big field, and a tougher group to deal with.
Yeah, they're both stretching out in distance, both coming from off the pace. I prefer horses that were on the lead more when they stretch out. Maybe just a personal thing. Sweet Fusion's got to get out of the gate better. Dixie Law, interesting. This barn doesn't have many horses running at this level. I wish them the best.
We move next to Dance to the Music, the number 5, Appleby, Godolphin, Buick, top-notch connections. Thought the Group 3 win was solid. This horse was close up, kind of shaken up, a little bit green late. Thought it was like a workmanlike type effort. So you can understand why she will be like a measuring stick in here. I thought there might be some other fun horses to bet, though, on the win end, Scott. I use this one more underneath.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to play against the Applebees because I think, those stats that you gave are true, but he's just 3 for 25 in North America with a
lot of them were last year and 2 years ago, right?
Over the last 12 months. So maybe things have cooled off. Maybe the stock isn't as good, but I'm not as scared of them as I once was.
I think if you can beat either the 5 Dance to the Music or the 10 Deep Learning, it might be because you get in front of those horses early, Scott, because I think those horses will be sitting and trying to make their one late run. Hot Mash might be that horse on paper. She comes out of a really fast race at Ellis Park. What I liked about her in that race, she was quick, but she showed she could sit off a little bit. So she flipped off. That makes me think she might be okay trying to ration that speed going a little bit longer. And then when you look at her pedigree, she's a half sibling to the grade 1 Alcibiades winner, Peace and War. So distance really shouldn't be too much of a problem for her trying to go a little longer. And you had her, I think, in an underneath spot. She feels like a real key to this race, if at least kind of dictating things with her style.
She was awesome in that race, and she was John Service getting hammered at Ellis. Not something that happens all the time. They knew what they had. She's bred to be very able to get the added ground. So lots to like.
Star Attraction was a maiden winner most recently over a yielding turf, came from off the pace, although her race didn't get really graded very high when you look at speed figures.
Same race that Pina Colada comes out of. I'm against the race. She got part of a 4-horse blanket finish. She was 3 wide throughout, to her credit.
I mean, we're singing all throughout the show, Scott. Someone might be in the kitchen with Dinah. Someone in the kitchen I know. Dinah is the next one up here, who was a little disappointing, I would say, as the beaten favorite in that Catch a Glimpse. Johnny V is going to jump aboard here. She's still a maiden. She hasn't won, but I mean, she fits with this group. I just think she's probably going to be a little bit overbet.
Could be, but I think the added ground to anyone's liking could be for her. She's kind of running even in both of her starts, and she is absolutely bred to route, not sprint.
You see 3 Kevin Attard runners in a row. We move to another maiden, La Coulas. She was 3rd, well beaten last time out. She's just going to have to show a lot more than she showed in that debut, Scott, to be competitive here.
Clearly, someone liked her. The barn probably liked her. A lot of people liked her. They made her the 9-5 favorite, 6-horse field. But yeah, she's that's about the best thing I can say, because she was a well-beaten 3rd in the maiden group.
No knocks on the outside runner, Deep Learning. This horse debuted at Saratoga, going a mile and a 16th on the turf course, and won really professionally. I think we have a replay of the debut win right here. Scott was sitting 6th, about 4 lengths off, hugs the rail, and then angles out and just blows by. Very impressive.
What I like most about this win is obviously everything you said I like, but the fact that she ran down the 2 speeds, so it wasn't as if this race was falling apart and other horses were coming from well out of it. So not only did she dominate this field, but there was the 2 speed horses behind her. Nobody else was making up any ground. I think she's pretty serious.
And you and I will both play this race like she's the horse to beat as we move to selections. You're going to have her on top. I have her in the 2nd spot. You and I both think that the 6 is kind of a key to the race and might be a live horse if can get out front, loose on the front end. So 10-6-8-5 for Scott. I'm going to throw Hot Mash on top, 6-10-1-5 for me. That's the 2nd of the 3 grade 1s we have to preview. We'll flip the page to race number 9, the grade 1 Woodbine Mile, up next. Our final segment, we actually saved the biggest of the 3 races. It's the grade 1 Woodbine Mile. When you think, Scott, about some of the great horses through the years that won this race, you have Skip Away, Leroy DeSanimo, Ventura, and then most recently Wise Dan, who won this thing a couple times. We get things started in the grade 1 Woodbine Mile, but actually that's a little bit of a tease. Before we do, I want to let the sports bettors know one more time about the great offers that we have for them over in the Bet on Sports section at DRF.com. All you have to do is go to DRF.com, and if you see the top right section, there's a football up there with Bet on Sports. Click on that. It'll take you right to this sports betting section with $5,000 in sports betting offers that you can claim. Scott, NFL, college football, lots of options, but we've got options up at Woodbine with the grade 1 Woodbine Mile. Stanley House has always been a horse that was highly regarded. He got one of his bigger wins last time on the turf, but it was a race where they put him on the front end and it was against softer. Like, this is a tougher group than where he's been able to kind of compete and win at the highest levels.
Soft pace, going longer against lesser. Now he's cutting back. I think he's up against it.
Notable Speech looks like the one to beat. This horse was actually favored in the Breeders' Cup Mile last year. He's a multiple Group 1 winner, and he's coming off a runner-up effort when he had legitimate traffic trouble in the race at Deauville on August the 17th. So I think he's the horse to beat, but he's not in quite the same form as he was last year if you're trying to poke any holes in him at all.
That and the Appleby horses, remember, have not fired quite as well, but he gets William Buick, one of the best turf riders in the world, aboard. He's the one to beat, but I don't know if he's the one to bet.
One, Stripe was very impressive in South Africa, and he's not raced since March. But when horses come in from South Africa, there's a long quarantine process, and it takes a while for them to be able to run here. This trainer, Graham Motion, can certainly get horses just like this ready. My big concern with him would be, Scott, if he is that short of a price, I'd probably want a little bit more than him than the 5-2 he's listed at on the morning line. But you look at his races in January, December, November, they were very, very good. And I'm certain this horse has ability, just not quite. I'd love to see a race before this one if I was going to play him in the Woodbine Mile.
Yeah, Motion's just 1 for 4 with these types of horses over the last 5 years. Grade 1 winners making their first start from foreign shippers in a grade 1. 5-2 too short.
Yep. Huntmaster looks like a horse stepping up. That will probably be part of the early pace. Comes off of a runner-up effort last time out after showing speed and fading.
The fact that there's another speed horse in here makes him borderline impossible on a huge class hike.
Wyoming Bill is actually in really nice form right now, and he's kind of a lightly raced horse with some upside. He adds the blinkers. I don't know if he's quite good enough to win this race, Scott. If you're looking for horses at the back end of your tries and supers, certainly a horse who's moving in the right direction. And you have Frankie Dettori, who comes into this off of a really strong Kentucky Downs meet.
Yeah, they both, you see Gas Me Up, who's in the far outside of Wyoming Bill. They got big setups in this race. It's kind of weird. Blinkers on after that effort and a couple of other good ones when they took the blinkers off for 3 starts. That worries me a little, Gino.
Yeah, because he ran well. You don't necessarily like to see the change after running well. Maybe they're just hoping they could get him into the race a little more because he was still a few lengths behind Gas Me Up when Gas Me Up started his rally. My boy Prince should be on the opposite end of the spectrum, right, Scott? Anytime Mark Cassidy talks about this horse when he's racing long, he says he'll be on the lead, and that's likely where you'll see him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He was on the lead last. You could argue last time in the 4-star, Dave. You could probably make a case that race was better, but he had everything his way. He rode a good rail that day, and he didn't even hit the board.
I kind of like him as a sprinter when he could sit off the pace a little bit and finish. I really liked his races going 6 furlongs and 5.5. We moved to Naptown. He's won 4 of his last 5. And as they step up the ranks, the connections just want to see how good this horse is, right? Where does he stack up against a grade 1 group like this?
Numbers-wise, not that far off on some metrics, but he got a huge setup last time, and the class hike is huge.
It really feels like the 8 Win for the Money is coming into this race perfectly handled. He's going to be making his 3rd start of the form cycle after a long layoff. He won this race last year, so you know he likes this turf course. He has the ability to sit close, but he doesn't really want to be on the lead. I just like him a lot in this spot, Scott.
He's going to get a really good trip, it feels like. The race 2 back off the bench in the Kelso, complete toss. He was on the wrong part of the turf course, never really into the race.
Gas Me Up is in really nice form. He's sharp. He's won 3 of the last 4, but you pointed out a really great thing from his last race. It's set up perfectly for him. You kind of wanted to bet him that last time because that was such a great setup. What do you do with Gas Me Up?
I don't think he's going to get a huge setup again. I think he's going to get bet because of that last win. I'll play against Gas Me Up in this spot at the 5-1 line.
As we move to selections, Scott, we had a lot of similarities in the 3 races. Even in this race, we're both looking at Win for the Money to offer a little bit of value. We both have the 8 and the 2 as the horse to beat. 8-2-6-3 for Scott, 8-2-9-3 for me. Whoever you play, we wish you the best of luck. Make sure to head to DRF.com for anything you need when you're playing the races. See you next week.